it's time for Movie Friends with your hosts Michelle and Seth. We're talking film without pretension. We're finding cats that are unexpected. We'll watch a movie, film, or schmovie, and we want you to join our journey. So subscribe and share this podcast, or this might just be the last of the Movie Friends. We're movie friends. We want to be your movie friends.
Hey, welcome to New Release Review, part of the Movie Friends podcast. My name is Seth.
And I'm Michelle. I'm a part of this episode.
That's right. And today we are talking about Wolfman from 2025, directed by Leigh Whannell. Now, we will be discussing spoilers throughout this entire episode if you put on a podcast about a movie and you expect it to be spoiler-free. I don't know what to tell you, but if it is very important to you to not hear spoilers for 2025's Wolfman, please turn this off, go watch the movie, and then come back and listen. Today, we are joined by, well, some might say a bit of a Wolfman himself. Alex Goldman.
Thank you for having me.
Yes.
I don't know who might say that, but I don't disagree necessarily.
Alex is the host of Hyperfixed and producer of Western Kabuki, previously Reply All, and generally all-around cool dude. Alex, how are you?
I'm good. Very rarely referred to as a cool dude, except by myself, so I'm really appreciating that. But, you know, anytime someone says, hey, come on my podcast and talk about movies, like, you know, that sounds great. All I do is watch movies.
There you go. Yeah, Alex, I think, obviously, you know, your body of work speaks for itself, but my enduring love for you comes from your love of terrible jokes on the internet.
Oh, thank you.
And just today you posted one where you simply said, was it Frames Janko instead of James Franco?
Right away with Paul Blart Mall Blart, which I think is really funny. I don't know. I don't know if that's landing for people.
I didn't want to say this at the time because it's like, okay, sure, of course you were thinking about that. But I swear to God, last night I was sitting on my couch, almost pressing send on a tweet that said, Swen Gattafani instead of Gwen Stefani.
I mean, I'm not happy having heard that. I'm like, you know, I'm not with someone who says there's such a thing as bad art. All self-expression is good self-expression, but that one needs to bake a little more, I think.
Right. Yeah, speaking of something that needs to bake perhaps a little bit more. Now, when I had reached out to you about coming on the show, I was like, hey, you know, sky's the limit. Anything coming out that you might want to talk about? And you very emphatically replied, Wolfman.
Oh, yeah, with an exclamation point.
Yes. And so here we are.
I knew, like, anytime a Blumhouse movie comes out, and if the people who are listening are not familiar, Blumhouse basically, like, produce all PG-13 horror movies that are currently being made in the US. Mm-hmm. I'm always, like, game to see it, because at the very worst, you'll get a couple good gags or maybe an interesting concept. Mm-hmm. I think that's what I got with this, personally.
Yeah. I didn't hate it. And a few months back, I guess at like Universal Horror Nights or something, they had like revealed the look for this Wolfman. I don't know if either of you guys remember that.
I don't.
It was kind of just like a bald dude with wispy hair and like a messed up face, kind of like going like, and everyone was like, that doesn't look anything like a Wolfman. That looks like one of the Deadites from, you know, Army of Darkness or something. But
yeah, sort of midway through the transformation, he kind of had the vibe of that guy who gets melted by toxic waste in RoboCop. Like, he just sort of looked like there's like a lot of prosthesis sort of caked on him, but it didn't have like a lot of form to it. You know what I mean?
Yep. Yeah.
So I didn't totally understand it, but if you think about it, so the premise of the movie is that becoming a wolf man, it doesn't seem like it's like a curse. It seems more like it's a sickness. Like it presents in the movie as an illness that he gets progressively worse. And like as a virus, if you're thinking about lycanthropy. Oh my God, I can't believe I pulled that one out of my brain.
Very
If you're
good.
thinking about like Wolfmanism as an illness, like it kind of made sense.
hmm
I didn't love it, but I didn't hate it.
Yeah, pretty much. So, Michelle, was Wolfman by Leigh Whannell on your radar?
No. This is my first Wolfman movie
Mhm.
into the story, if you will.
Mhm.
Uh yeah, I'm searching for a Wolfman for me.
Mm.
Like I guess I should watch the original. I don't know. At first I was like, you know what? I'm kind of into this. Pacific Northwest.
Sure.
It's giving Twilight. It's giving Bigfoot. And I love
Oh,
Bigfoot stuff,
yeah,
right? So
yeah,
I'm like,
yeah.
okay, I'm into this. And then I'm like, no. I was like the one in the theater where I would just be like, come on. I had to like catch myself. I was audibly
Oh, really?
yeah.
This
Yeah.
wasn't passing muster for you.
No. Mm-mm.
Interesting.
I was like, maybe this just isn't for me.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, the effects were cool, but like, is this what? And then I'm like, oh, maybe I just like werewolves, and there's a difference between wolfmen and werewolves.
No.
No.
No, this is
Okay.
like
This is
I-
just.
I would say that the most unique thing about this movie was the fact that it took like the Wolfman mythos and made it into a sickness as opposed to
Yeah.
a thing that happens every time the moon is full. You never see the moon in this movie. It's like not
Nope.
classic Wolfman.
Nope.
But I would say that if that is the most interesting thing in your movie, you're kind of in trouble.
hmm
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, we've covered a lot of the classic Universal monster movies on the show, and each time they come up, I'm like, I'm not doing Wolfman because I don't like the original Wolfman movie. And
Really?
yeah, it's not that I'm opposed to werewolves or Wolfman. You know,
Wolfman.
a funny little
Wolfman.
in joke in this one is that his daughter is named Ginger, and one of the best werewolf movies is Ginger Snaps. So
Oh yeah.
I will give them credit enough to know that they knew what they were doing when they named that character. But yeah, like Alex said, you don't see the moon in this, and a lot of times with werewolves, there's like a spiritual aspect
Mhm.
or a curse or something. You know, the moon is very majestic and magical, and in this one, it's just kind of like, I don't know, maybe it's spores or something. And so it's almost closer to like zombies,
Yeah.
Right.
but not fully.
I mean, it did remind me a lot of the trope that was, I think, done best probably in Return of the Living Dead, of like people sitting around with a person who's getting progressively sicker,
Yes.
being like, "Oh, what do we do?"
Yes.
I thought the most affecting component of that is at one point the illness progresses to this point where we see this like shift in perspective, and it's like a visual and auditory shift in perspective where the wife of the guy who's been infected is like talking to him, and she's like, why the fuck are you acting like this? Why are you doing this? What's going on? Blah 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 blah. And then the camera shifts and like the tint of the color changes, and it's like he can no longer understand English.
Mhm.
And it's like him desperately trying to communicate and being like, I can't understand you, what's going on? But when he tries to talk, he just like mumbles.
Mhm.
That sort of dream-like quality of not being able to communicate with people, like that I really liked.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it's like that's not a lot. There was not a lot. Aside from that, it was like classic monster movie, like you got to run away from people. You've got to run away from the thing that's attacking you and look out because now it's in your house and blah blah blah. Like there was a lot of that, and I think you were right that they were making decisions that made me say, "Come on!" So
Yeah. And my husband, first, my husband and I do not do horror. I do like Universal monster movies. And so that was the other thing too, because I was like, oh, this is a Universal monster.
Yes.
So,
yeah.
okay, I'm down to go see this. And also I was like, well, Alex is coming on the show. I guess I'll go see Wolfman. And so
I didn't realize I was going to be putting you through so much agony. And I
You're welcome,
apologize.
Alex. So anyway, I go with my husband who doesn't like gore. Like Seth, do you remember we covered Jennifer's Body? And my
Oh, yeah.
husband was just like,
Mhm.
and I was like,
Mhm.
what is your problem? And so throughout this movie, he's like this with the jacket up to his face.
Yeah.
And he's like, I did not enjoy this. And I was like, thanks
Oh
for coming with
no.
me.
Oh no. See, all of the things that we've talked about so far, I was okay with. I did love the changing perspective thing, and even their eyes get these like blue
Yeah.
disconnected flames that make them look scary to him, right? And so you'd start to understand, oh, this is why the Wolfmen would perhaps be aggressive rather than just like hiding or going out and eating squirrels and mushrooms. It's like you become a monster to them, like both of you are losing sight of what the other person used to be. I liked all that.
Right.
What I didn't like, and as a father, I have come to the place where I know that you can have the best intentions. You are doing something that is perhaps going to mess up your child. You just don't know what that is. And the thing that you think is like really helping them might be the thing, right? And so it's kind of like, you try to minimize the damage as they grow older. But this movie just hits you over the head with like fatherhood, and I felt like it just kept stopping to be like, do you get it? Do you get the allegory here or the message? Do you get it?
Well, I mean, this Leigh Whannell also made Invisible Man,
Yes.
which I don't know if you've seen or not.
Yes.
Another unique take on a classic monster movie. And like the whole premise of that movie is a guy who basically uses like an invisibility suit to make everybody think that Elizabeth Moss is going crazy, but actually he's an abuser.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Leigh Whannell has a lot to say, but is not necessarily great on subtlety.
Right.
And
Right.
if you look at his writing credits, which I looked at right before we started talking, the movies he's made that are not his directorial movies are like the least subtle horror movies ever made. Like the first 3 Saw movies.
Right,
And
right.
What else did he make? He made like Insidious 1 and 2. Like he seems to go all out. Like subtlety is not his strong suit. And like I appreciate anybody who's trying to swing for the fences, but yeah, didn't exactly land.
No. And I liked, once I realized like, oh, this is mostly one night, one location, I was like, oh yeah, I am into that. That's interesting. A lot of times in Wolfman stories, we'll see them transform several times, or we'll see them over the course of a few months. And it's like, oh my God, the full moon's coming again. Oh no.
Right.
I hope what happened last time doesn't happen. But in this one, it's like, no, one and done. And I even liked the idea of like multiple Wolfmen. But then when it was like, no, it's your dad, I was like,
which was so obvious.
So yes.
Not to me.
Oh.
Oh no, you didn't get it?
But the person I saw it with leaned over and was like, "That's his dad," and I was
That's
like,
what
"Oh,
I
okay."
did to my husband. Oh man, we're the worst. We're the worst. Yeah.
I mean, once she said it, I was like, "Oh yeah, of course." But I'm not smart enough to get that on my own. I needed help.
Yeah. Well, then you see the tattoo, and it's like,
Right.
okay, yes, clearly this is. And again, like as a parent, right? You try to look at the things that you inherited. You hit this weird time period of like maybe like mid-20s where you're like, oh my God, I am like my parents, and I hate that. And then hopefully you mature enough to be like, oh, actually, I've inherited good things too. But then you look at your own kids and you're like, maybe my dad was an angry guy and I'm an angry guy. How do I stop this from going any further? And is it possible to do that? And like, even with, his daughter ending up in like the same deer blind that he was in. And I hated that. I hated all of that. Yeah.
You didn't find it to be a trenchant allegory about the pitfalls of fatherhood?
No. But you know what? I feel like it almost could have been if they had just made the other Wolfman not his dad, and they didn't constantly like. I felt like the movie kept stopping to do like therapy for like a few moments at a time.
Right. There's that moment where his daughter's laying on the couch, and he's like, I really don't want to traumatize you like my father did me. And I was like, a little on the nose there, bud.
I think he's a good dad. I don't know. I don't raise my children in the city. I live in New York, but not New York City. And like, I feel like if my kids started climbing on one of those construction barrier things, I wouldn't just be like, "Oh, please get down. Oh, can you stop now?"
No, I'd flip out.
Yeah.
Yeah, some urgency there.
Yeah, I'd be like, "Hey, that belongs to the city and the people of New York. That is not your plaything."
Yeah, I'd mostly be angry about her disrespect for civic ownership.
That's right. That's right. This movie, I was excited mostly about the cast. Christopher Abbott, he's a really interesting dude. Have you guys seen anything else with him?
He looked so familiar to me, but I
Mm-hmm.
don't know from what.
I know him from Girls.
Oh, interesting.
Who was he in Girls?
He was in the first season and he dated Allison Williams' character.
That's that guy?
Christopher, I believe
His name's like Charlie? Is his name Charlie?
Yes.
That's crazy. Because he looks like an adult now, and when he made that, he looked like a child.
Yes,
But
Charlie, yes.
Yeah, he must have been
Like,
really
look,
young. way back then.
baby.
Mm.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Yeah, that might be where you know him from. He was also in Poor Things
Mm-hmm.
oh, right.
last year. Yeah. Michelle, did you see Poor Things?
I didn't. I saw The Favorite.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you like The Favorite, you might like Poor Things.
Yeah, I don't know if I liked The Favorite.
Oh, okay.
The Favorite was interesting.
Yeah.
But I heard good things about Poor Things. So
Yeah, it's wild. It's really something. So, how did you guys feel, Christopher Abbott? We already mentioned his transformation and everything. How did you guys feel about him in this?
I thought he was good. Like, I thought everybody was, like, acting their butts off in this movie. Like, they were doing their best. It's just, it's just the movies. The problem was the writing, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought he was good. I think that playing a wolf man is probably really difficult. So I was impressed.
yeah, I agree. I thought he was great. And I agree. I felt like everybody did a really good job. And I just, the whole time I'm like, maybe this is just Wolfman's story. Like, I don't know the other stories so I'm like, maybe this is just this version.
Right.
Maybe this just isn't for me. Maybe I'm missing something.
Oh, so you're sitting there in the theater not having seen Wolfman, thinking like as if you were seeing like a new Frankenstein.
Yes,
And
exactly.
and we get to a windmill and you're like, well, there's windmills in every Frankenstein.
That's right. I'm like, oh, the dad is always the wolf man.
Got
and
it.
then the son will get it and so forth.
No.
No.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I would say that the best Wolfman movies do not adhere to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, good to know. Good to know. I'm on the hunt to watch. I want to watch other versions.
I mean, I'm not like honestly a huge Wolfman movie, werewolf movie person either. I'd say that like my favorite is American Werewolf in London, which is just it's a comedy basically.
Yeah. That one, yeah. We've thus far not done a John Landis film on the show, but if we were to dive into it, it would definitely be American Werewolf in London. It's got incredible the effects in it. It's hard to think of something that was made that long ago that still looks perfect. Like
Right.
There's almost no seams to see.
And that movie like that movie set a benchmark for effects to the point where like, you know, Michael Jackson hired him to make Thriller. Like he was like, "Oh, you're the best.
Right.
This is the best thing I've ever seen. I have to hire you."
Yeah. It's kind of like when you watch The Thing and you're like, "Oh, like this is actually that good." And The Thing, you know, the effects in The Thing, there's more like stop motion, so it's easier to see the age on it, but it still is like this looks incredible. Why doesn't every movie look like this?
I know, right?
Yeah. And then when you watch American Werewolf in London, it's like, oh my God, like how could a wolf transformation get worse? So we already talked about like the idea that this is a sickness rather than just like a curse or something. how did you guys feel about the wolf-like appearance of the Wolfman? Was it
I didn't-
wolfy enough?
It wasn't wolfy enough. I didn't like it.
No, but again, I'm like, oh, maybe this is what it's supposed to be. 'Cause it's not and then I was like, oh, wolfmen are different than werewolves. Again, I'm so
Right.
I'm like, oh, Jacob turns into a werewolf. I'm
Well, he
referencing
turns into a
Twilight.
giant dog, really.
He's a wolf.
In those movies.
He's
right.
a wolf.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this, I didn't.
When you said Jacob, it took me like, I was like, I don't remember a character in this movie named
Oh my
Jacob.
bad. I'm so sorry.
I had to
Jacob
think.
Black.
Okay.
Twilight.
I get it. I'm not that out of touch, but I did have to think for a minute.
Yeah.
I had a hard time.
Yeah. It didn't do enough for me. I mean, I thought the transformation part was pretty cool when we saw the fingernails come out, and I thought that was well done, but looking like wolf-like, no.
Yeah, I was just so... It ended up looking more wolf-like than that, creature reveal at Universal Horror Nights, whatever, had led us to believe. So in a way, I was kind of pleasantly surprised, but then in another way, and as a bald person, I really shouldn't be so hung up on this, but I was like, why are the Wolfmen bald? Why do they have like tiny wispy? Why? You don't get a mane? You become a Wolfman and lose hair?
Yeah, that is a choice, huh?
Like, how
That is
unlucky do you have to be
Yeah.
to be Christopher Abbott with a beautiful, luscious head of hair? You become a Wolfman and you lose all of it. I didn't understand that.
Now that you're saying it, I didn't either. I kind of just took it. I was just kind of like, well, okay, this looks fine. But now I'm mad.
Yeah, I didn't really think anything of like him losing the hair that he lost and then becomes that kind of creature, but
Yeah, not into it. What I was into was how they do become like dog-like. I mean,
yeah.
I didn't get how this transformation happens in like 3 hours, really short amount of time just from a scratch. Like that's a virus that would like rip your body apart, But his dad has been missing so long that the state has declared him dead. But their transformation is exactly the same. So you go through the transformation and then it's like you're done. There's no like next level to it. I don't know if I'm explaining that correctly.
You mean
but,
like you want him to level up?
well, just be a senior
like
Wolfman.
over 30 years or whatever, 25 years, 15 years, you'd see the ravages of whatever this illness is. Like
Yes.
if it's like most illnesses don't, like if you get some kind of virus that's inescapable, inexorably changes your body, I would imagine it wouldn't all happen in 3 hours and then just be done.
Right.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like, here are two people with the same type of cancer. Here's one after 3 hours, and here's one after 10 years. Identical.
Right. Oh, that is interesting.
But I did like how they became like more dog-like, like chewing off your own foot to escape a trap. Someone who's caught plenty of mice, unfortunately, in my life.
Oh God, now that I'm thinking about this, I feel so bad making you and your husband go see this.
Hey, listen, we went on our own accord, so
American Werewolf in London, in addition to being a much better movie, still gory, but not like as gratuitous. I think.
Good to know. I'm gonna watch it. I'll see if
I think you would have a good time with it for sure, and it is funny. Like it's funny.
No,
and
I want to watch it.
Did this movie have any levity to it?
No, the whole thing was like failing relationship, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, there wasn't anything light about it.
Not really, right? I mean, we meet the creepiest childhood friend of all time. Like, I don't know what that guy's problem was, but quite frankly, when he died, I was glad. Like, I felt no remorse. I was like, I think the Wolfman just saved you from this guy.
Yeah. I mean, we only knew him for 2 seconds.
Yeah.
So
I did kind of think there was going to be a reveal, like a reveal about that guy being bad somehow, or like a joke. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
They would find his knapsack and there would be a novel inside. How I'm going to kill my childhood friend if he ever returns home.
Like, have you ever seen Cabin in the Woods?
Yes. Yep.
There's that great scene at the beginning. Cabin in the Woods, if you are not familiar, is basically like a send up of horror movies. It's like a commentary on horror movies. And at the beginning of the movie, there's like the weird prophetic guy who warns you not to go to the cabin, who runs the gas station. And like, then he has like, it turns out after the teenagers leave that he has handlers, like he has people who are like telling him, feeding him his lines. Like, that is such a silly, weird reveal. I would love for something like that to have happened with this guy, for him to have been somehow involved.
Yeah.
Even if we found out, even if he dies right away and we find out later that he's part of like a cabal of vampire hunters who have like made themselves, taken a vow of celibacy to live up on this mountain and stop the evil that is trying to escape from the Pacific Northwest and infect the rest of the country. Something like that. We don't have to see it happen in the movie, just like a little bit of development instead of just being a weird guy who dies.
Yep.
Yeah,
And
that would have been awesome.
this movie does that thing where if the main character isn't around, time doesn't happen or nothing happens to anyone. So this guy has lived up on this mountain forever. He survived, but now, this guy comes to town. Well, it's time for this guy to die. Even the house, when they go there, like, he's been declared. I don't know how long it takes for a state to declare someone dead without a body. My guess is a long time, right?
I would think, yeah.
I would think. And yet the house isn't dusty. You know what I mean? Like, there's not branches laying around.
Think about that.
Someone's been mowing the lawn, apparently. And at the beginning of the movie, you see the dad with the CB, and he's like, I found it. We're going to have... Blah, blah, blah. And so with this childhood friend, like Alex was saying, I was waiting for it to be revealed that everyone who still lives there have been actively hunting the wolfmen and whatever. And like the reason that Christopher Abbott left was because he refused to join their hunting ways and he turned his back on it. But no, like, and I think that you can tell like a brisk story, but your movie's got to be brisk. And this movie did not feel brisk to me.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah, I felt the runtime, 103 minutes. That's not that long, but it is when nothing's really happening. So Alex, I was curious, and I know I'm kind of putting you on the spot here. So you run a show where people submit their problems, and then you help fix them. If you get a call from a wife saying my husband is transforming into a wolf man in front of me, what's your first go-to?
Get a bike lock, one of those big fucking like those big ones, the big bike locks, and lock him somewhere.
There you go.
Say, listen, honey, this is for your own good, so you can't hurt yourself or anyone else. You need to stay in this room. Me and your daughter are leaving this mountain, and we are going to find you help.
That sounds pretty good to me.
Yeah.
All right. Follow up. If there is no room or lock, and you know that eventually he will turn, I hate to say it, but I think it's a mercy killing. I think you just gotta get...
Absolutely. Yep. It's like taking out a rabid animal.
Right. And I thought that that's exactly where we were going when the jerky room is revealed.
Oh.
It's like, okay, there's already meat in here. There's meat that he has eaten, which, I know dry age beef became a really big thing in recent years, but
how old is that meat?
I don't know, man.
I assumed that everything in that house was like 15 years old. I was like, why are you eating that jerky?
Right. And another thing,
that's
I
jerky
don't
from
eat
the last
jerky,
decade,
so
man.
I'm like, maybe this is how jerky works. Maybe this is how wolfmen work.
Right, exactly.
Throughout the whole movie.
I love that. I love that idea of you sitting there being like, I don't like this, but maybe I should be liking it.
Yeah. Maybe this is just how it works. I am open to this.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's like a secluded room off the basement. you get him in there, you lure him in with the 15-year-old jerky, and then you lock the door.
Yeah.
And it never came back though. Like nothing ever came back. But dude bites his foot off. I absolutely loved that. Like, I thought that was great. And I kind of was like, okay, this is really like forcing us into like an end game, or is he just going to not have a foot for a while? Like,
Yeah.
yeah. How were you feel? Were you squirming? Were you like,
I wasn't squirming. I don't really get squirmed out by that stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, that's for some reason. I'm like, if it's the fact that it's not a doll, I'm good. That's my level. With
wait,
horror.
I'm sorry, what?
Like dolls freak me out. Like, this doesn't freak me out. That's what I'm saying. Like, horror stuff isn't gore. Okay. Moving on.
No, wait.
Alex, how did you feel about the biting of the leg?
No, I want to go back to the dolls. What are we talking about now? I gotta say that most of the things that make me squeamish in horror movies is like the sound. I don't know if this is just because I grew up with, just because I have a career in the auditory arts.
Right, yeah.
I don't know what it is, but like I'm very sensitive to the sound of it rather than the look of it. So like anytime there's like squelching going on, I'm like, unless it's like obviously very over the top,
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of tough for me. At the same time, I like a movie where like it commits to going nuts. So I was like, oh, okay, we're really gonna go crazy now. This guy's biting off his own foot.
Mm-hmm.
But it didn't. It was just a lot more running back and forth between the house and the barn.
Yeah.
You know?
Okay.
Yeah.
We're running back and forth. House to barn, house to car, car to house, and we're locking the house. We're leaving to go to the car. We lock up the house. Then we have to get back in the house.
Yeah. And you have to unlock
let me
it.
stumble because I have to unlock it.
Right, yeah.
That's in the theater. I'm like, come on!
That's true, yeah. It's not like there's anyone else around.
I also thought the fact that like rather than trying to lock the metal grated door, that after they ran into the house, they tried to barricade the door. I was like, it'll take 4 seconds for you to jump out there and close that thing.
Yeah,
Yep.
yes. I thought that this was kind of funny. And it is, again, the most obvious, but it got me. Like, they got me with this one. When he's leaning up against the door listening and he can hear the wolfman outside. And then the wolfman grabs him. And how does he grab him? He goes through the doggy door.
You're so right.
I was like, you know what? I'll give you that one.
Yeah.
That's actually kind of funny.
Yeah,
A wolf would go through the doggy door.
That's good.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Did you guys think that the suspended U-Haul truck was going to come to anything? Like perhaps someone would get crushed by it, or I don't know.
It did have like when I saw it happen, I was like, oh, this is just Jurassic Park. Like this is the scene from Jurassic Park where the car goes over the side of the T-Rex enclosure.
Right.
But then it didn't happen.
Right.
Yeah.
But then it didn't happen is like a really good alternate title for this movie. Because the whole time you're like, oh yeah, okay, I can see. Oh no, oh all right, I guess we're not doing that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, last person I wanted to mention. I mean, Matilda Firth as Ginger. I thought that she was doing good. You know, kid acting is always hard, and you know you don't want to be like this kid sucks. I thought that she did what was required of her.
Yeah, I thought she did great.
Yeah, I thought she did really good.
Yeah, I think again for writing, I think my kids would be more freaked out if they wouldn't just be like trying to read my mind, you know, like.
I also think that that's like a fault of almost every horror movie is that the events of almost any horror movie would put a person into shock. And everybody's just like, oh my God, that's terrible. We better get away from that.
Yes.
Like that's just kind of, you just kind of have, that is a suspension of disbelief that is so deeply ingrained in me that I'm just like, yeah, okay.
Right.
They'll get themselves together. There are sometimes when they overdo it where they're just like, oh my God, my friend just died. Now what?
Right.
But I thought that she did a good enough job expressing her fear and like helplessness.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a great from Evil Dead. We can't bury Shelley. She's our friend. So Julia Garner as Charlotte. I don't know. I don't know how to feel about how this movie is like portraying her as a working mom. I I, I don't know. Like I was like, is there something here? Is this a little offensive? Is it not offensive? But I love her. I watched Ozark, which I do not watch TV, but man, is she so good in Ozark, so over the top and crazy. And I guess I was coming into it with a little bit of like, hey, it's Ozark lady. This is gonna be, and then she's just very reserved. But yeah, I thought she did good. Michelle, what did you think?
Yeah, she did good. I do like her, but I also felt the same way. I didn't really know how to feel about her character.
Mm,
I was like, I'm still trying to figure it out,
mm-hmm,
even though I've been like marinating my thoughts about this,
mm-hmm.
and I'm not sure. She
Yeah.
did good,
Yeah.
but I don't know if I even like her character. I don't know. Yeah, it's a great answer, isn't it?
Yeah.
I just think there wasn't enough subtlety in the writing of these characters for us to get a sense of whether we were supposed to like them or not.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
both of them seemed kind of like shitheads to one another.
Mm-hmm,
yes,
In the one scene we get of character development, which is her on the phone trying to get some work thing done while her husband's making dinner. He's passive aggressive and she is ignoring him. There doesn't seem to be any sort of apologetics from her. There doesn't seem to be any understanding from him. Like both of them feel kind of flat.
mm-hmm.
And I feel like if we could have gotten a hint more of their relationship, I would have liked both of them more.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, she's on the phone. You know, I'm not a journalist in New York City, but it seems like you're on the phone with your editor about something important, and he's acting as if she's like, I don't know, I don't know what, but it's like this isn't some trivial thing, dude. And he's like, can you please take this in the other room? Can you please take that in the other room? It's like, are you like anti-journalist? Like, is that the problem?
yeah. I think he's resentful because he's out of work and he's a writer, and so he's like,
Yeah.
I don't want to hear it because she's always working, and I'm a little gel.
You think so? You think he was a little gel?
I mean, I think he's happy being a stay-at-home father, but I think he's definitely has some resentment there.
And that's something again they could have gone into just like a touch more, you know.
Yeah, like
We
I think we were supposed to understand that they're going through a rough time, but I didn't. These two were not well matched to me, so I was like
Yeah.
not rooting for them as a couple. And maybe again, I don't know. Are we supposed to ship them? This is not that type of movie to ship, right?
Can you ship someone who's married?
Well, I meant like I'm rooting for you guys. Like I
Oh,
want
okay.
you guys
Oh, okay.
to. Yeah.
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 I think a more compelling story would be, okay, we're rewriting it now.
Yes.
Their relationship falls apart in the beginning of the movie. He takes the daughter for like a weekend trip to his home without her. And then the werewolf stuff happens and he's somehow able to contact her and be like, we're in trouble. She has to make a decision. Like, do I call the park at the search and rescue people, or do I go out there myself and try and help them? And either she tries to deal with it remotely or she like goes out there herself. Like, and maybe their relationship gets explored a little further through this lens of them not being together.
Right.
Yeah, I like that idea.
I thought it was going to be, hey, you know, we're not doing well. I mean, I do love so much of love and relationships in film are depicted as like magical or whatever. And I did like the conversation where he just kind of like surprised her at the stoop of her job, you know.
Yeah.
But he's like, you know, are you happy, or you know, because I don't think that we're doing well. And sometimes, a lot of times in relationships, it's just a simple few words that are very, very honest, and that kind of gets the ball rolling. And so I did like that. And again, Christopher Abbott, I think, is really performing that scene. I think that scene would have worked in a drama. You could have taken that and like put it into another movie and it would work. But I thought for sure, I was like, oh, he's going out by himself. Like he's going to go take care of his dad's place. Bad stuff's going to happen. and then they'll kind of come along. But just, I mean, for me, if me and my wife were doing really, really poorly, the last thing I would suggest is, hey, you want to go help me move my dead dad's house?
But it was
That will
more
bring
than
us
that.
together.
It was let's spend the summer.
Yes,
Yep.
let's do the summer
Yep.
in a place with no electricity or water and 20-year-old jerky. Yeah, we'll all love it. We'll this is definitely what we need is to be on a desert island essentially together.
Yeah, it'll
You know.
force us to bond.
Yeah, that's good for any
Exactly what we
relationship.
need. A whole
Yes.
summer. Put your work aside. No problem.
So did you guys see this end coming? The final shot of them in the valley, the look that never gets old.
I knew that was going to come back.
Mm.
I didn't realize it was just going to be the two of them or whatever.
Yeah.
I didn't, but I eye rolled, so just being honest.
Yeah.
I mean, I did see the kind of you've seen The Fly, the David Cronenberg Fly?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
At the end of that movie, spoilers for The Fly. At the end of that movie, he's so hideously mutated and she's terrified of him and he's this like unrecognizable monster. He shed his human skin and he's just like, a wet puppet.
Mm-hmm.
And she has a shotgun and she's terrified and she's holding it and he grabs the barrel and points it at his own head. And like the pathos of that was just like, oh
Mm-hmm.
God. This just felt like, oh, I know this is going to happen.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and for them to not even give us like shadows of something that has happened prior. It's literally the same thing that we just saw. And I'm sitting there like, yeah, I've seen this part because I am still in the same seat that I was in when I saw it an hour ago.
Right.
Like you can't do that. Maybe with a television show, you can do that.
Yeah.
Maybe with a film series after 4 films, you can and again, it just felt like, hey, you get it. Hey, get it. And we got it.
We got it.
Yeah, we got it. Did you guys have any other thoughts or anything that we didn't cover that you wanted to
No,
mention?
I don't think so.
I think
think
that we
that,
may
like-
have collectively
we've-
thought about Wolfman longer than any of the writers did prior to making
Yeah,
it.
I think we thought about it longer than the filmmakers thought about it.
Mm-hmm.
Michelle, do you regret your decision, your Wolfman
I
decision?
don't. I
Okay.
don't. Because I definitely went in with, I'm trying something new.
Mm-hmm.
And yay, Universal Monster. And maybe this will be like a Bigfoot thing.
The whole movie, you're just like waiting for a glimpse
Well,
of a Bigfoot.
I'm like,
You never know.
it could be cryptid. I mean, same sounds, Pacific Northwest.
course.
So, but I don't regret it. No.
There you go. Well, I would recommend. You loved The Invisible Man,
The original.
the original Claude Rains.
Yeah.
His remake of The Invisible Man, it's terrifying. I
Yeah.
think it kind of spirals out and loses a little steam towards the end, but for the first half at least, it's pretty
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, so Alex, would you like to share with us what you're working on?
So I host a podcast called Hyperfixed. Our listeners write in with problems, and then the premise is that I solve them, but more often than not, it's more like me being like, well, this is why you have to live with this petty annoyance in your life. But I do solve them occasionally. Let's see. I've got one about license plate sequences coming up.
Oh,
Got one about a guy who wrote his own sequel to the movie The Grinch, the Ron Howard one.
shh! Stop.
Stoked.
Oh my god. As
Yeah.
a Grinch Ron Howard hater, I cannot wait for that. Wow.
Oh yeah, I find it uniquely unpleasant to look at. Ugh, what a
Yes,
horrible movie.
Yes. Michelle, you're in the same
Um,
boat?
I'm in the same boat. Yes.
Yeah.
we're working on. I'm looking at our Slack right now, and we have a channel for each story we're working on. I'd say that we're probably working on like 15 stories right now.
Oh my
Wow.
god.
So
That's a lot.
yeah, it's a lot, but also kind of great.
Sure.
Yeah.
It never gets boring. But yeah, I'm working on that. I host the podcast Western Kabuki. What else? On Airfest in February 19th through 21st, I am going to be performing live in Brooklyn.
Nice.
And then in March, on March 15th, Western Kabuki is doing a live show in Chicago. I think that's
Oh, very
everything I
cool.
got going on. Most of the time, I am, as you see me right now, in a tiny room in my basement talking into a microphone.
And we appreciate it.
We
and we
do.
love the show. Yeah, we love the show.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah, love it.
as-
It's great.
As many of the reviews have said, that I'm sure you've seen, everyone is like, oh my gosh, it's so nice to have Alex back and solving problems. And I kind of feel the same way. It's like slipping into a warm bath, you know?
That's
What
very
an
sweet of you. Thank you so
interesting way-
much. No, I get it. I get what he's trying to say. He didn't mean it in a weird way.
Maybe I did. Maybe I did.
He
I
might
don't
have
know.
meant it in a weird way.
I
Apparently.
was going to say ditto because I feel the same way. And I believe I sent it to Seth. I was like, it's so nice to hear Alex again and hearing his voice. And you have the best laugh. I have to say it. You have the best
Oh,
laugh,
thank
Alex.
you.
But I didn't say like a warm bath, but Seth, you can feel that way. No problem. It
The
is
ditto
comforting,
was
though.
like on
It is
Michelle's
comforting.
lips. And then the warm bath happened and she's like, not
There are
ditto.
definitely podcasters out there who, when I hear their voices, I'm just like, oh, okay. I got 45 minutes.
Yeah.
That's just like my time. That's like
Yes.
time for my brain to rest and recuperate.
Yep.
Just hearing this person talk. So the fact that I can do that for someone else is very flattering. I really appreciate you saying so. Thank you so much.
Hey, yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. All right. Hey, and thank you very much for listening wherever you're listening. Hey, if you haven't done it yet, feel free to give us a rating and a review. 5 stars, 1 star, whatever. Who cares, man? It all works. You know, the AI can't tell the difference anymore. Just
The
any kind of
AI.
engagement. If you want to give us a review that's like, these guys suck. They feel like getting into a cold bath. Go for it. Let's see what happens. Let's roll that dice. You can also send us an email, moviefriendspodcast@gmail.com. Let us know what you thought about Wolfman, which, from the looks of things, very few of you have thought anything about Wolfman. But that's okay. Let us know what you thought about it. And what Universal monster movie should Leigh Whannell, maybe butcher next. You can also support the show, patreon.com/moviefriendspodcast. $5 a month gets you access to all of our additional shows, our patron-only Discord, and you get to join Michelle's Inner Circle, and you get to decode the secret messages at the end of each episode. And a few other things, but whatever, it's cool.
You got it.
You got it. You get the idea.
Yeah.
All right. Well, hey, thank you, Michelle.
Thank you, Seth. Thank you, Alex.
Thank you, Alex.
Thank you both. Thanks for having me.
Yes, this was good. Next time, if you ever want to talk about a better movie.
Yeah,
Feel
if there's
free.
another movie that I'm super stoked about, or if there's another movie you're super stoked about, you want me to come back on? Give me a holler.
Oh,
This was a lot of fun.
Anytime. Please, please, please. All right. Thank you very much for listening. Till next time, have a good one.
Movie Friends is produced by Seth Vargas and Michelle Rubenstein. Theme music by Jean Marie Vargas. Visit us at our website, moviefriendspodcast.com, and please subscribe and rate our show wherever you are listening. You can support Movie Friends at patreon.com/moviefriendspodcast. Thanks for listening.